그래서 누가 소커스는 들라든가 소커스는 들라다 나가 쓰면서 롱챔바를 그리고 좀 정말 저지금 똑같이 소커스는
And so the great master Longchempa has written 3 books on resting. We can call it the Resting Trilogy. He has written a series of 3 books on the study and practice, focusing on the Dzogchen study and practice. These are very well known, rather famous books, this trilogy, these 3 restings. And so one of these, as you probably know, is the very one we're studying right now, resting in the nature of mind. There is also resting in meditation, or resting in meditative absorption, and then resting in illusion. And so this trilogy, this series of 3 books, focuses on the stages of studying, the stages of studying, the stages of practice. And actually then also within the studying, within some of the other aspects of studying the stages of the path and in training, there are also the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, or the 4 thoughts that reorient the mind towards the Dharma. And there are both the sutras, the tantras, and the Dzogchen perspectives. So we have the common, uncommon, and Dzogchen perspectives of trainings. And trainings such as the sutric trainings as the 4 thoughts that turn the mind are very important. So it's really important that we train in all of these areas, actually, the common trainings, the uncommon trainings, and then the ultimate trainings of the great perfection. And so these stages of study are really quite important for us to all go through. If we study well through these stages of study and practice well through these stages, then what will happen is we will really have an authentic practice. We will have authentic knowledge, authentic practice. And in order for this to come about, then we really do need to follow the stages. Following the stages, studying according to the stages, practicing according to the stages will really give us the framework, the good foundation that we all need, the good solid foundation. And so we started out our retreat with the contemplation on the difficulty of finding the human birth complete with all of its freedoms and advantages. We moved on to impermanence, and then also studied and contemplated the sufferings of samsara, and then the workings of karma, cause and effect. And so these four are the four thoughts that turn the mind, What exactly are we turning from? We are turning from samsara. When we're talking about turning the mind, we're turning away from samsara. And actually within the words of my perfect teacher, also, as we mentioned, you can learn about these four thoughts that turn the mind in more detail. And then the principal aspects of the path, we have this division called the three principles of the path. And among the three principles of the path, the very first principle is renunciation. A mind of renunciation is really crucial, because if we do not have the attitude, the mind that wishes to turn away from samsara with true renunciation, then it's really difficult to enter an authentic path. Without renunciation, it is very difficult to accomplish the path to liberation. And so we mentioned during our discussion on these different four thoughts that turn the mind over the past few days that it's not understanding them in all their various and many enumerations, but that's not terribly helpful. But rather what really helps us is we understand the meaning of each of these four thoughts. When you really contemplate and come to a confident understanding of the meaning, this is what will benefit you. This is what will benefit your mind. This is what really trains the mind. And as it says, the purpose of the Dharma is for us to tame our minds. And for us to tame our minds, then we go through this training. Having authentically understood, then when the meaning of this arises in your mind, then it will be very beneficial. And so it's in this way that we need to train, understanding the meaning, not in all of getting caught up in all of these various enumerations of this and that, but authentically understanding the meaning and again training, practicing again and again.
다 이런가 그 조시야 되겠노나 근데 가르당 일에 생각이 기회신인 세야 되더니 다들 가서 인실 땡부실 다들 어떤 소리를 말했어.
And so now then to our text, we are now at chapter 5, and chapter 5 is on relying on the spiritual master, relying on the spiritual friend. This chapter shows us the way and the need of relying on the spiritual master, on the spiritual friend.
Today,
And so now we've come to this chapter, and it's really the guru, it's the master that shows us this spiritual path that we need to train upon, that we need to study within. As we said, mentioned also briefly, the Lama is the root of the path. The guru who shows us the path is the very root.
담반은 난이가 되는 정도서 있음 제바스 진양서 상첩심이 기비실인 정도서 상첩심이 기비실인 장첩심 그 공방가를 토리아 강화가 된 정말에서 기비실인 정말에서 왔다 던져서 되겠어.
And then starting out in our text, the unerring cause and effect of the excellent path arises from relating to the holy ones. Attaining the three kinds of enlightenment, that of the victors of the three times, together with their heirs, that of the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, arises from relying on spiritual friends. So, achieving the path to enlightenment depends wholly on the master.
또 자주 공부 도버 제발아요. 여기 신이가 땡고 그래서. 아니 알아서 지금 공부 도버 제발아요. 여기 신이가 땡고 그래서. 그러니까 나는 maybe 자체 공부 도버 제발아요. 아니 여기 신이가 땡고 그래서. 근데 자체 쓰면 근처에 돼요. 근데 가서 여기 신이가 땡이 되는 정도요. 그래서 여기 신이가 되는 정도에서 일단 그래서.
And so the three kinds of enlightenment, as it says in the text, the enlightened state of the Shravakas, or the hearers, relies solely on the spiritual master. The attainment of that relies on the spiritual master. Obtaining the state of the Pratyeka Buddhas, or the solitary realizers, also relies completely on the spiritual master, and the unexcelled complete enlightenment relies on the guru.
근데 저도 다음에 가서 라마 메비 공르나 라마 메비 공르나 근데 상지세 지금 그래서 요 말에서 좀 라마 메비 공르나 상지 제비 마야에서 그러니까 좀
And so within the sutras, it's also said that before the state of any unexcelled enlightenment, there was none without the guru. There was none before this.
근데 그래서 그러고 똥그 상지점 너무 달라더니 좀 그러니까 똥그 가서 그 상지가서 똥산이 세지라 그러고 똥그 상지도서요. 강라되는 좀 말해서 너무 달라더니 좀 lama gi shinin la temi de samji ko tobari es de so de es.
And then it said the Buddhas of 1,000 kalpas relied on the master. And so the meaning here is that the limitless Buddhas of 1,000 kalpas achieved the enlightened state in exactly the same way. They achieved that through reliance on their gurus.
아니 lama gi shinin la batina de 아니 samji ko ma 저 그러면서 가서서랑 그 가서 소소도 조정지다니 던지지다니나 나한테 꽤나 samji ko ma 저 처리야 드리어에서 나한테 드리어 말했어.
And so, is there any enlightenment without relying on the master? For example, through just our own individual study, can we gain this enlightenment? Is said that no, without relying on the master, there is no enlightenment.
Daily Changarasu, not say at Yamsel Chebala, Sangngak Jitaba, Yamselinia Chebala Garsanata, and Jimmy, give you Shinin a thing with your rest, give you Shinin a thing, the Nigarsanata, I make the Danga, that and you go to the Garsanata, go to the thing with your rest, the Direma to the Garsanata, the child, you get up at some ticket and to the halfway at Jita, take it in the Chinabjibata or Jivotonia to read the Jiva.
And so, and not only that, within the secret Mantrayana, it is said that the Lama is absolutely indispensable. We must rely on the spiritual master. We must have the spiritual master, and in reliance on the spiritual master's liberating pith instructions, the oral instructions, is how one is to gain enlightenment. Other than that, just from our own reading of the text and taking our own understanding, then we will not come to the point of authentic practice and achieving results.
Sangngak katanya dia tangsong tu mau punya ya, dia kau tu so tang terjaga nang tang kasakan nanti kita di Dzogchen saya tang Chachen saya tang tentu kau mau ya lah, tentu mau tak saya ini mau hak dia tentu tinggi beres, tentu kas dia kau nanti macam tahu tak tentu juga kas nanti ni tu so tu hendak tentu so Yamna Pantoya Tong, so the new Grevis, the Kalekakores, the Jim Minicars and Nathan, the Druid, Gishin in the Gurkars and Nathan, that one of Chisum last of part, the Nilami Mangala Tinitali, take it to Nate, Gilaje Gures, the Rimato Pechan also, then Games of Kawan, Yellow and Dalinatini, Tondate Harkwat, and Richie Gurnikas, Yam Topa Gilaje, Yam Topa. Nyam tong topa nyam topa tentu jilaje yang tentu lau tentu yomares.
So actually, these days there are a lot of Dharma students who think that they really, understand Tantra. They may say, "Oh, I really know Tantra very well. Actually, I've gotten all these really excellent books from the bookstores, and I've got this text. Wow, I can't believe I found this one in the bookstore. And wow, what's out there on the internet right now? All of these tantric scriptures and so on. They're on the internet. They may think that they've gotten these, and there's the teachings of Dzogchen and Mahamudra, and they think, oh, okay, great. I went to the bookstore. I studied. I've read a lot. I get it. I know it. I really know Tantra." But actually, it's hard to gain the full meaning. It is hard to get this full comprehension, the full comprehension that is necessary without guidance from an authentic master. It's extremely important that we go through the processes of receiving the empowerments, the instructions on the particular text, and the reading transmission, and not only that, then receive the oral instructions. Simply doing, working with through our own limited understanding that we can take from these texts by reading them ourselves is very difficult to really gain any true meditative experiences and realizations. It's not easy.
Kashigata, then you get a look at so Kalijara, Kalij, you look at not as a half way at the youngest. My uncle and take a cars and so around with Jiltoria, so around with Jiltoria. To imagine so around Jitro, around with Jitro, dig it down and Jana Panto, around with Jiltoria, Jana Pantoya de Latin cars and Lami Nawa Lami Nawa the arguments. Which along the Yamnachi chocolate essence, Yamnachi and Grace and the Tilakas, Lami Nawata, 되니까서 텔라 GP 같은 일단에 also talamarin by the maji or GP which is not several so la toria which is technicals tendelatni lami the damati goes the mesoma in that as a so the total hakwa samchi getni so jitu tugres to gumares dili chot gumarela dili jana panto gumares jena lamton chibaina panto gumares also we choose ya de kare gumares mo jena lamton china jena de la panto hago ke pechim jena panto se ya de jampan se ya de de la uji gumares da hakwa samchi ta de to shiba samchi ke jena panto ya de gumares la lami nawa gumares so nawa se na so lami nawa 유신이 나와서 아니 저런 거 하는 게 진짜는 심지는 안 받죠. 또 완전 지다워서 되게 지나들이 갔습니다. 되게 판토크를 해서 되게 나와서 어떤 이유가 되는 소소한 시간이 되게 친구들이 하는 조사를 해서 되게 정말 판토
And so actually there are, a few select individuals who can actually read the text. They work really hard. They really go through, put a lot of effort into it, and they can come to know the meaning. So there are a few individuals who can do this. But actually, what we need to do is we're aiming to liberate our own mind streams. We're looking to tame our own mind streams. The objective, our primary aim here, is to tame and liberate our own mind stream so that we can tame and liberate others. And in order to do this, actually, to be able to really gain the ability to do this, then what we need to do is gain the blessing and permission of the gurus to enter into these kinds of activities and into this kind of experience. Because in doing so, by receiving the blessing of the Lama, the permission and the blessing, we're actually receiving the blessing of the whole lineage. We're receiving the lineage blessing. And this is what we really need to do within the Tantric teachings. We need to gain these blessings so that we can go on to help others and to show them the path. And so what we need to do then first is to gain the permission from our kind spiritual friend, from our guru, then move on to help others. So in this way, we're actually benefiting ourselves and others. So going through this process of relying on the master for this is very important.
There's Hakwaya, Tuja Chituba, there's Jachimbo Town, Demo, Oya Town, Contributing, Jotas and Mabuyo, but I'm Tela Pantores and Pantokumaris. Then in Marto Pandata, Chilse, they turned the Julikan, the Hamakoswaina, Yundin Chimbu Jamajo, Pantokumaris. Yundin Chimbu, Yundin Mambo Jamajo, Pantokumaris. Pandita in a Chinjolis, Pandita Haguia, Pandita Lanaga. Pandita in Nagu, Yundin, Carson, and then Marto Pandita and Chills. You could truly get not the Miss Soyana Pandita in a Pantokumari, Chinjolis.
So actually I've met a few individuals who think just like this, actually. They've read many books. They say, oh, I've read so much about this subject or that subject, and I really know it well. I've met some who will show me, like bookshelves and bookshelves that would fill a whole bookstore, and they say, I've read them all. And I know, they think they know, they say, I know the meaning. And they really think that they know the meaning. But actually, when through only reading, there's not the full amount of benefit that we need, because this doesn't bring us to the point of increasing our wisdom. It will increase our intelligence, we'll learn more, so we'll be kind of intellectually smarter maybe, or more well-informed, but this does not bring our rising and growing wisdom forth. It doesn't bring us to this path of liberation that will help us to liberate our own mind streams and to be able to authentically go on to help other beings in the world. The only way to do that is through taking in the guidance of the Guru, relying on the instructions. It's not said that in one body, in one life, one can gain liberation through reading books, but rather through getting the instructions directly, the oral instructions directly from a master. One receives these blessings and then can bring it to this point. But just listening a lot and studying a lot does not bring us to this arising wisdom that we need and seek. And it's said that we need to know the liberating instructions. We need to understand the pith instructions, the oral instructions from the master. And there is a saying that even the greatest of scholars, if they do not know the inner essence of the point of the liberating instructions, will not be liberated. And so what we need, actually, that's important for us is, first of all, we need to rely on the liberating pith instructions, listening to them, and then we need to come to understand the inner essence of this way of liberation. And so when we then put into our practice, when we rely on these very instructions, these liberating pith instructions from the Lama, then where does this bring us? It brings us to the point of knowledge, understanding. Then we will come to confidently know and be able to rely on these. And if that is the case, if we do this, then Rinpoche says, I have the great hope that in a small time you will be able to bring this to fruition, get results. And then in our text, also the higher manifestations of samsara and whatever happiness may be involved in them arise in reliance upon the holy ones. Therefore, we should rely upon them. Like the vines on a sandalwood tree, and like the kusha grass in a filthy swamp, by relating with the holy ones, we ourselves become holy, and relying on bad ones, we ourselves go bad. Therefore, sincerely try to relate with the holy persons. And so by relating with holy ones, we ourselves become holy. So when we associate with those spiritual friends and those spiritual masters with qualities of the paths and that are on the path, the grounds and path, the holy ones, the superior beings who are also on the spiritual path, then we will become exactly the same as them, as it says here. If we rely on holy ones, we ourselves become holy. And in the same way, as it says in the text, relying on bad ones, we ourselves go bad. So if you think about it, if you associate with bad people, what ends up happening is you kind of end up being, of the same like. If you're always with people who are stealing things, then your tendency is also going to be just like them, to steal things as well. And if you're hanging around with people, that are liars, they're always, lying, then also you'll be habituated to, lying as well. And then also, if you remember back when we were studying the 14 root downfalls of the Vajrayana, within that first verse and the third verse, we spoke about the importance of the Guru and also the Vajra brothers and sisters. So that was also pointed out within the 14 root downfalls. And so really, going back to that first of the Samaya commitments, when we studied the downfalls there, the first verse was about the importance, it placed it in the very first verse, the importance of the Guru, the spiritual master, and so really pointing to the same meaning as we're discussing here in our present text. And so also when we were discussing in that same verse in the 14 Root Downfalls, we talked about the spiritual accomplishments in relation to the Guru as well. And within that verse it said all accomplishments follow after the Master. And so it said that our spiritual attainments actually come from the Master. It's not said that they come from the Yidam deity. It's not said that they come from the Dakini. Within the three roots, then the accomplishments come from the Master. They follow from the Master. Actually, the Master is the root of all blessings, and this is stated in the Tantras, where it says the root of all blessings is the Master, and the principle of the mandala is the Lama. And actually, this Lama, the source of all of our accomplishments, is the root of all blessings. And so, as I had just mentioned, that the Lama is principle in the whole mandala, according to Tantra. And in the Tantras it's said that far superior than meditating on 100,000 Yidam deities is simply remembering the Guru for a single moment. So actually, if you, everything that we discussed yesterday when I was speaking about the Guru Yoga practice, this very thought, this very one point brings the entirety of the Guru Yoga practice.
lama getene la ti manga pa tendri getene nyamyo te yo yo di tas ane soma la tena kola teni karsana nyamyo yona teni pantok korwa teni kasi lama rang la teni nyamyo teni me teni karsana teni kaosa gura teni tendri ugu manga te me soyena ane jana tena te tunde jirgire besena kale kabore se te tunde jirguma des o tendri indi tasu tambo karo pachik tendri teni te goyores.
And now again from the text. In particular, as for the characteristics of gurus of secret mantra, they have empowerments, vows, and pure samaya. They reach the other shore of the ocean of tantric instructions. They have mastered approach, accomplishment, and activities in view, meditation, action, and result. Experience and realization, they have gained a warmth. Very kind, skilled in means, they give disciples ripening in liberation, empowerments, and oral instructions. They are undiminishing cloud banks of lineage blessings. Rely on such a glorious, skilled, and accomplished guru. So this first line, in particular, as for the characteristics of the gurus of secret mantra. So these days it might be hard for us to find somebody exactly as this text is laying out, and these days this might be hard to find, but there are authentic and not as authentic lamas and gurus, it's said. And these days, if we can find a guru that is of true practice, truly takes into practice the teachings, holds the lineage with completely pure samaya, has not degenerated samaya. For it's someone like this also that has the power and ability to show others the path. So we also need to find a guru of some ability, of some power. And first, they need to hold the authentic practice themselves. They need to hold these oral instructions and have practiced these very oral instructions themselves. If they don't have this practice, experience, and power ability, are they going to be able to give it to others? So no, they will not likely be able to do this. However, a master of pure samaya, and a holder of the lineage and well practiced themselves can help others, bring this to others, experience to others as well. If the Lama is not such an authentic Lama, then they will not be able to affect the minds of others in this positive way.
Jikutondata manga tendruge teni kasina rangla teni tendi yonggenji gogurwa rangla manga tende teni meswa ina jela manga tenna tende jirgumarwa manga to yayang ko me bachakarwa otende indi ta kasina teni shanyen teni jitun manga la sofa otende kasina teni konsugure teni ta tende yonggen te tunggen kasina teni ta
and so they themselves have this mastered approach, accomplishments. They hold empowerment and oral instructions, and undiminished cloud banks. And so they actually need to have and hold these oral instructions themselves and have experience in these practices. They actually need to be endowed with this themselves, because otherwise they will not be able to show it to us. First, they have to have the oral instructions in order to be able to pass them along. And so it's one that has these oral instructions in their very practice who can show us the path to liberation. And what we need to seek is we need to seek a master who has this power, who has this ability to show us the path of liberation.
건거 연는 신의 타이게 로이 인지 쇼스라거나 승소자리 제친 임마데 남식 남지 대분라나메 그파세비 예비신 노르테 리당 몸매치 드시치 추치르스니 챕튼 상보데 조근같이 타이가 오치스 디스나스 만비제보데 마르면스 루메 보고치 찌르게 되죠 박스 상진데 노르거슨 그런진 다들 마부치 상진데 된지 지난 노르거슨 그런진 금방 상스
And so now if we do then rely on such a master with the qualities that we've been discussing, and so then what comes of that? And we continue on in our text, Resting in the Nature of Mind. Their Buddha qualities are utterly limitless. They, whose qualities are completely limitless. If I may modestly praise these friends of beings as they liberate from ocean of samsara, they are captains of great ships, leaders of those who enter the path, wish-fulfilling jewels who clear away fatigue, the Amrita waters which cool the flames of karma and affliction. They are excellent clouds of the cooling rains of the Dharma, celestial drums delighting all sentient beings. And it goes on from there.
Oh yeah, that the Dzogchen Meditation Centre was the Palmeti, Dama Pande, or Kirchin, Tai Truman, Kanda. Ponton also the Crescent Chinzera, the Palmets or Dash, to Latin, you reach Bonda, Lamu, Condi Pandas, Chotomayor, Jensambo, Sunamukunda, Jipamanta, Latin, Shandu Pamanta, Yentai Jindash. Yekimje Jerry Wambonda, Tendulama Partin Chuji, Konaju, Soji, Companion, Contitrano, Lapchin, Curtin Papa, Satin Roa, Kenji, Kuncho Java, Lama Soji, Jontoron, she had a cabinet. You didn't know other key, Tonzapi, the Shimona Soji, and Joksawa, the La, Bosso, that's on the Chivote. Tetalina and Lamgacha, Dendru keeps in the ship and then Yantaka to Senji Jinjilas, Tatani, Mujukta was a gata. It's a good Mujukta was a yes, Mujukta was a Jizopella, Kasawa Saton Chishin with the Shapa, Tibarata, Mujukta, Dorji, Sopella, Gusum Somet, some two things. The duck in the Nandru Lamgak Chansega, Dendru in the ship Pandenza, Yang Tonton, Sinjil, Chinjilas, Tenderman, Lama, Gupinas, Sendala, Mandruk Lama, Gugurias on
And so then we come to a section of the text here regarding the spiritual master. They block the paths to the lower realms and place us on the ladder to the fortunate realms, granting us the benefit and happiness in this and future lives. They teach us the authentic meanings and bless our minds, set us on the paths that ripen and liberate. And so this is what we've been discussing here. They teaching us the authentic meaning through their blessings and setting us on that authentic path of liberation.
That would do good to the person who has been on that. Take a custom. I also cast on Nando the Dinisha by Ba, Nando la Tia, Corala, Tanga, Simiwa, Nando the Lam to some ground of restaurant cutting, Lam Gokchang said, Nando Chia, Lam to Sotani, Goktabata, and Dendro Carsenatani, Toria Gatani, Consider, Kinzi, Kita, the Kinzi said that, the Digin, and that's in the Lion Pamba, Chimalayan Pamba. What the new young topic to so we did that in the concept that Chilatobre is Simjit Chinjila on the
And so, regarding the accomplishments following after the master, they block the paths to the lower realms. Before, when we were discussing before the lower realms, then we talked about these lower realms, and the spiritual master helps us to block taking a rebirth in these. When we talked about the different kinds of accomplishments, temporary and ultimate, we talked about the the spiritual accomplishments of not taking rebirth in the lower realms. And so as it says here, they block the path to the lower realms, and they place us on the ladder to the fortunate realms. And so they benefit us in this life, and they benefit us in all future lives as well. And therefore always rely on the Guru. And so again, the blessings come from the Lama.
근데 그런 tellatini가 답든 혼지를 믿기 따바이 듣는 그 쭉을 매버 땡스. 다다티기 초라가. 젠들 문들라는 고비나 된 답든 혼지를 믿기 따바이 듣는 그 쭉을 매버 땡스.
They set us on the paths that ripen and liberate. Therefore, with a faith that is always firm and changeless, always rely on the Guru without sorrow or fatigue.
승소값이 라마 템브라샤 라마 게이시로 템마다 가르기 쳇 땡도 열에서나더니 나라서 찐치긴 직관이라 탈비기 쳇다. 근데 내가 찐친직실 생각 찐친직실 생각 뉴모 시실 생각 나라서 라지 그녀 남도 뉴모도 시비기 쳇다. 라마 게이시니 땡도 열에서 근데 니근 자실 생각 나라서 그 니반 라마다 마분도 좀 정그러와 니바도 담지 메바기 쳇다. 뭐야게 쳇다 게이시니 땡도 열에서 아니 지신직실 돈이 는 실을 같아. 지식했더니 직과 매바 당하니까 지금 뭐야 그다음에 당하다더니 너무 소소하게 양력사 지식은 직과 매바다 아니 돈이 선적 생각하더니 돈이 선적 실을 생각 돈이 선적 그 쳇더니 라마 계신이 땡게 요래서 스바 감성 코로나 딜리더니 관리게 쳇더니 라마 계신이 땡게 요래서 라마 계신 땡고의 전선들이랬어.
And so then, why should we rely, regarding why should we rely on a master? Well, this is stated in one of the following verses. We should rely on the master to pacify afflictions and to be separated from all of our faults and harms. And so, to be rid of our afflicted mental states, to have them completely pacified, then we rely on the spiritual master. We rely on these oral instructions. And then the next line reads, to be separated from the fear of birth and death. And again, relying on the oral instructions, we will no longer fear these experiences of birth and death. And then the next line, spontaneously accomplish the twofold benefit. So again, we will accomplish the benefit of self and the benefit of others. And so we will cross this ocean of suffering of the three realms of samsara.
Lama mamba damnak mandangda arangla nakun de sinyerjakde nandan so batmanin tense tang shirde nali tulin jetubjin tense janam siti papshite takun de shije te marshas takun de hijese yate hivishinin tenna gandu changu goresana ni takun de shije ni lamdra ni o takun de shije rubani ni lama geishin tengo re songares te tense res.
And so that's the reason, these are some of the reasons why we should rely on a guru. And now next, how do we rely on the guru? How exactly is it that we should engage in this relationship of reliance on the spiritual master? And that comes in the next verse. You should consider that the guru is the physician, the instructions are the medicine, and that you are the patients. Your earnest diligence is like taking the medicine. Your attainment of peace and happiness is like the result of freedom from illness. All other ways of reliance should be considered like this. Rely upon the teacher with these four pure perceptions. And so the way we rely is actually stated right here. Whatever we do, we should have these 4 perceptions.
근데 단디 배우 보내서 라마라 단디 맘바 기박인데 시스 라마 때니까 생각합니다. 맘바 소소 네바지 근데 시작 그래서 소소 네바래 소소 가르게 나바래 가르게 나바래 왜? 아? 다이 나빠 맨날 하고 메로 이 임바지로 그래서 그랬으나 가르게 나바래서나 레이터 뉴모가 나바래스 그래서 그래서 다르게 나게 했으나 레이터 뉴모가 남도가 나게 했어 남도가 나바래스 남도가 나바이는 기타스 되니다 되니까 했는데 되게 되는 거라서 그 나사디 시와나더니 라마데 맘바 기박인데 시작 그래서 말했어.
And so the first perception that we have is that the guru, the lama, is a great physician. And then the second one, we are the patient. What is it that we're sick with? What is it that we're ill with? We are ill. We are sick with the illness of karma and afflictions. We are a patient that has been struck by this illness of negative emotions, afflictive emotions, and karma. And so, in order, we need to be cured of our illness of karma and afflictions in this perception, these perceptions, examples of perceptions. And then it's through the lamas liberating pith instructions. The oral instructions that we receive from the lama are perceived as the medicine.
근데 라니에 가서 나가면은 뭐 땡고 봤어. 근데 라니 나가는데 시제거든. 다다가르레스 나가서 나타내니 됩니다. 남쪽거든요. 레탄 유모가 나사티요레스. 레탄 유모가 가서 나바 당테니까 선나. 찍발레스. 맞다네. 나사삽 친구 되요레스. 그래서 나사삽 제슈 들어와. 근데 레탄 유모 이게 나사티니까 선나. 에비던스입니다. 라니 나비게 시작하고 있어요. 성공했어.
And so then we are perceiving ourselves as being struck with a sickness. We are perceiving ourselves as being sick. If one is not sick, one does not go and seek out a physician, does not go and seek out a cure. So we perceive ourselves as this patient because here we are actually, we're all struck with the greatest of sicknesses, the greatest of illnesses, that being under the sway of karma and afflictive emotions.
아니 난든 좀만년 댄스센가 난든 좀 봐서는 난든 거니까 서거든. 파촌지 거니. 근데 라미 당나한테 냠슬렘바. 다른 데가서는 만 댄스 당는 찍바레스. 다 소소거든요. 가서 나사유나 다 저야게 제때 좀지 지내니 몇 땡 거라 같아. 뭐 대단으로 했을 때는 난장나 좀지 주냠슬 라미 당와 냠슬레야 되더니 예 가서 만 댄스 당는 찍바레스.
And so we should rely with diligence upon the teacher with these 4 perceptions. We should really be unwavering in our wish to cure ourselves of this illness of karma and afflictions, and therefore in doing so, to be able to do this, we need to rely upon the spiritual teacher.
소소나 강습을 했더니 남이 당원 한다는데 소소나 도래지 부분도 그 말이었어. 그 소소 같은 소소 나가 있는데 사고 같아. 만 되니 만바고 저런 게 샤마 자탐발만 되니 근데 만 야고진 사고래서나 근데 샤마 자한테 야고지 사고 같아. 그 마사 소마이나 되니 이 자바이나 소소 나한테 되니 강습을 했더니 양절 로건을 해야다. 된저 같은 가서 되니 그요 봐. 된저랬어.
However, just simply hearing the medicine of the Lama's instructions isn't enough. Just receiving the guidance of the Guru isn't enough. For example, if you visit a physician and you're sick and you get medicine, you get a prescription, then you need to take it. So if the doctor says, okay, well, take this for 100 days, and then you go home and you toss it out, this is not going to help. You actually must take it. Otherwise, there is the likelihood that this illness will remain or return.
네, 암지구 갈라 그래서 저런 삽 친구랬어. 저런 내가 친구였어. 샤마 자탐발라 만데 야고사 아세는 아니 한 나가라 드니더니 만데 레나 같은. 아니 나가라 드니더니 드니 가서도 드니 만데 드니 야고진 마산 만데 이잖아. 아니 직전에 시야가 그냥 가요 봐. 어떤 데도 갔어요. 드니 만비 나텔라 마니나 넘바테게 네발라 판토 그래. 도쿠마라 또 그래. Mambi ngala mambi kachatela manina mambatege nabatela pantokre besena mambatege nabatela pantokoma agoso mambatege ngala kachakare nabatela nebatege nyambaida natela mamba pantokre.
And so then if you go to that doctor, you're there because you're sick, and the doctor says, oh my gosh, this is really serious, this is really dangerous, you need to take this for 100 days. And you go home and you toss it out and don't do anything with it. So there's actually, in that case, isn't there, the chance that you're going to die? So actually, if we don't rely on the advice, and we don't do as the doctor says, then we're not going to be cured. Can the doctor really benefit the patient if the patient doesn't listen? No, he can't help if the patient doesn't listen.
Nandela, Nasandela, the Chuna Pantocres, Juice in a gare, Zuchuta, the little Charang, the China, Pantocres, and the Mamba Koga Amjo, Kosala, Manganala, or Natela, the little love you, the Chegures, and the Amjo Latin, never take Amjo Latin, don't shall not take Pantocres.
Go to Mason.
Neck Payende, neck, Mang Payende, so Churong Nasade, the Della did the Gogan, then the Chegores, Nepaga Amjo Kosala Yige, Manga Yigechura, my city, Malanit, Manga Yigete, Tenu, Domba chicken, never Pantocre.
Don't pass some chicken.
To cook Manga Payende, my city, Pantocre. Pantocmara. Pantokumares. Mangici, Tenicasana, Te Pantocre Besente, Pantokumares. At the Matona Carjegor. I'm jigger Mantegor, I'm jigger Mantegor, so with the Sagor, and the Chine Pantocre. Mato Mangatani, all the Della Pandi Pantocundesi, Te Amjonala, Quenshepa, Sanjik Pantokumares.
And so, within the different medical texts and so on, there are the scriptures or the instructions in the medical texts and so on that talk about the different illnesses and what cures the different illnesses. And so, it might say, so for this illness, this medicine is used, and the qualities of this particular medicine are going to heal this illness. So is simply reading the words in that medical text going to heal the illness? So simply reading it actually doesn't cure the illness. What needs to be done? The physician actually needs to give the medicine to the patient, and then the patient needs to take the medicine. Simply reading the words that are in the medical text, the medical manuals and so on, or hearing the words in the medical manuals isn't enough.
man then mambasani man rapati bugun na chakmarwa ba remare chakmare na ba mambasani man rapati bugun patokmar soso yapachi sago de chulum to yapachi grat what it is.
And so it's in the same way, simply hearing the oral instructions, the instructions on the pith instructions of practice isn't enough. Just like if we don't eat the medicine, it's not going to actually cure us. So is simply hearing the oral instructions enough? No, we actually then need to take up the instructions. We actually need to then practice them. It's like we need to actually take the medicine. We actually have to practice what we have been instructed. And so just gaining, for example, introductions and instructions, pith instructions, oral instructions, isn't enough, because is just receiving the medicine enough?
That only, I say, what they get, that incident that you could talk to the Shishu when you see the thing, what that is somebody else.
And so that was a little bit about, through these four perceptions, how to rely on the, briefly, how to rely on the spiritual master.
Abanchil Dundong Tam Tingma Songyen Bome Ramondo Chuchong Gongkala Chodong Tsu Tsu Pemba Deta Ke Lama Taka Chula Nats Tang Ola Numbana Dan Baby Chunchun Jiga Jan Soviets in the Shilopanga Tembanas what Latin Personality. That is like locking the sheep. It's a locking the Shingas at years. Locking the Shingas, that Lama to change it on the Tembarat. Lama attacks and Gatan. In the Chong Desonat. Lama attacked them. Lama attacked Chula last dance. Rangla Umban and then Dalton Chunju, Jan Soviets, the Hill Lopanga, Tembana, dancing maybe in the ship dignitaries. But the room did that, the person out in Lama into those from that, changing the temper, that into
And so now we've come to a section on kind of the mistaken way of reliance, and we go into the text talking about these particular individuals who are like maybe have a mistaken way of reliance on the guru. Their anger and harsh speech are increasing. They see gurus as musk deers and dharma as musk. They see themselves as hunters. Their efforts are shot like arrows. The fruit of accomplishing dharma is to sell it to others, relying on the teacher with these 5 perverted perceptions. As they have no samaya, they will suffer hereafter. So then we have the 5 perverted perceptions, which I just read.
Oh yeah, that in the dancing in the shoot. Lali to Mara Mata Pachin Jill, Sunny, and then Joshin, catching Jimmy Wako, Names, Sergi Lamani, and Yinko thinking about data, driven the many. Kazon Tomata and Sheriff Chair, Sunday for you, Chandang Shipin, Kalim and Dum Samson, to Jake and Simchi, Juro, Tangnoji, Tension Mukichi, Dr. Lamin, and Jensha, Shans, Tatila, Captain Thomas and Garden Thomas, Sheriff Chairs, Garden Thomas at the country, Machine. What in Karavan and Thomas, Kazon Toma, Tatang Shirches, Kazon Mate, Tabatan, Shirp Chim, and Tunji Hera, Payet of Janshi, Dabasenga, in a point to Garden of Gosun to Shon Japan chess, Koyo, Joram, Tompo Taknochi. The Tambi Mukichi that stop the Lami and then Jansha Shans, Stun Lamerton, Toma Yenden Sams, Tenju Carson at the attack possibility. Catela Kazan de Thomas, Carvatan, Carvatan, Thomas.
And now we come to a section on the students with good fortune. The students of like a fortunate lot, and then there is a verse in the text. Students of good fortune have great faith and prajna, or wisdom. They are diligent, careful, introspective, and aware, not going beyond commands. They guard their vows and samayas. Their 3 gates are tamed. Compassion and altruism are great. Spacious, forbearing, and generous. Their pure view is vast. Also the Yunten And so then we have the students of great fortune. Students of great fortune, such as were described in this verse, then are students that are going to be able to gain great qualities and great fruitions, great results from their practice. For example, in one life, in one body, gaining enlightenment. And then again on how to rely on the lamas. The steadfast and greatly devoted ones, so people who are really stable and steadfast. So steadfast, greatly devoted ones should always reflect on the virtues of the teacher. Don't consider their faults, and even if you see them, think of their qualities. Rely on the antidotes of confession and pledge, sincerely thinking, it's just my perception. He doesn't possess such faults. Reject every aspect of what does not please the Guru. Devi just Shanghak Nyambo, Chivo Taman, the Timber Shasanga. Devi just Shanghak Nyambo, Chivo Taman, the Timber Shasanga. They Taman from the Chava. Jandon Ranch, Shanghak, Samuel, Yambo to Paranjo. Jandon Pamit, Jusum Chujin, Jose Atega, Garare Senata, you Shinians at the 10th one, Yenden Karatoparis. At the Zotani, not good. You Shinin Tenatanita, Yenden Toba to Chigas. Okay, so and now in the text there is a verse that points to if we rely on the Guru, then what qualities will come of this? What good qualities will we generate, will we receive? You should rely on holy persons. Thereby, unbiased pure view will arise. You will be versed in kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. Meditative experience and realization will naturally increase. All one's desires and limitless benefits for others will be accomplished in accord with the Dharma. And so that was the fifth chapter on how to rely on the Guru.